Welcome back to Mic'd Up with Mama Shaun. Y'all, today's episode is going to be tender and it's going to pull at my heartstrings, but you know about my kids and their introduction to what made me Mama Shaun, but you don't know them. I'm not a biological mom, but I am a mother to many. And that was prophesied over me many years ago, almost like the female version of Abraham. And I remember thinking, oh my God, that's dumb. Like, how am I going to be a mother to all when I really want my biological children? And remember in my earlier episode, I talked about how the things we go through now propel us for the future. As painful as it is, when we get over to the other side, it'll all make sense. So before I knew I was the kind of mother that I am, it was prophesied that I was going to be that. So Mama Shaun, several years later, out of the heart and the mouth of the love of my life, my sweet baby boy Austin, became that's the child who made me realize that I was a mother. Um, and I am so grateful for the love. And I'm going to talk about my kids in this episode. So I'm going to try not to cry. Um, and I've been working in early childhood for 30 years. So I have come across hundreds and hundreds of children. But it wasn't until the last, 2000, I would say probably 2019 is when I met him and his family, his sister, and no, 2018. I met him, his sister, and another one of my children. So I'm going to probably speak on four kids, three of which were together at the same time. One was born later on in life. Um, but so we're going to talk about my babies today, right? And everyone that knows me knows I love my babies with every fiber of my being. There's nothing I wouldn't do for them. I've gone up against them, against their parent, one particular, um, because their baby was my main, their child was my main focus. Not you, not your issues, not your struggles, but the child, right? So these babies taught me about motherhood. Um, and I'm going to come at it from a different angle because I didn't physically have them, but the connection we have is one that I can't even comprehend myself. Um, I had one of the moms tell me, "You're more of a mother than I am." And I was taken aback because I'm like, I immediately thought I didn't carry these children. I did not go through labor and delivery and stretch marks behind these children. And I felt like that painted her in a small picture. But it wasn't until later on that we had a conversation and she was like, "You are in these kids' lives. They think of you and ask of you and include you in their life on their own. I don't do anything." And let me tell you, these four kids, I can go pick them up anytime I want. Mind you, I'm not a birth mom, but I'm their mom. Okay? The classroom raised me and taught me how to be a mom. And I say that because I do not treat my children the way most childcare, early childhood educators should. And I mean, from the standpoint of, I go above and beyond because I love these children like they're my own. And they talk to me like I'm their mom. Um, and for all intents and purposes, I discipline them like a mom. And they have never any trouble. Never. And I've been in these kids' lives for 5, 6 years, and they have never given me problems. And that is God's honor. My philosophy is there's a problematic child, and then there's a child acting their age. Two different things. These little voices, those little hands, those little attitudes taught me lessons that no textbook ever covered. No one ever covered this. No one ever covered that you will fight for your children against their parent. No one taught me that you will go to the hospital. You will defend in court cases and hearings. No one told me you will write statements. No one told me that when other sinners have kicked children out, you took them in. There's no textbook for that, right? And that's the kind of educator I am. I don't believe in kicking children out because they have a behavior. Because I know now, don't get me wrong. I know that there's times we should absolutely. I understand that, but there are times when that child does not know how to regulate their behavior. There's times that their parent does not know how to parent regulating that behavior. So somebody has to stand up for this child. I have a little boy in my program right now who has been kicked out of 4 or 5 locations, and he's only 3 years old. That's because they did not take the time to understand what was wrong with him. We took the time. Not only did we take the time, but we worked with mom on how to handle discipline, guidance, protection, and safety. All right. My first glimpse of motherhood. Over the years, children run up to me, they hug me, oh, Mr. Shaun, Mr. Shaun, Mr. Shaun, and I love them, and they invite me to their parties and different things. But when I met Austin in 2018, um, we had a connection. Now, he's not the only one. Okay, we'll say there's A and A. Okay, there's the other A. We'll call her Lee. And in those two children, I connected with them. There are other kids I connected with too, but those are the ones that are still in my life. So much so to the point to where when I would come into the building, they would walk me to my office in front of me, walking me to my office, open the door for me, right? And tell me where to set my stuff down. And then out the clear blue one day, Austin started calling me Mama Shaun. And I remember the first time he called me mom, and I still have this video. He was sitting in a little baby bouncer and he couldn't get up. And he was like 19 months. And he was like, Mom, Mom. And he had his hand and extending his hand, Mom, Mom, Mom. And there was no one in the room. And I said, what's wrong, baby? And he said, help, help. And I was like, huh? And he said, Mom, help, help. So I put my hand, I extended my hand and got him up. And at first I was like, okay, maybe, he's just, I spend a lot of time, we spend a lot of time together. It makes sense to call, the teacher mom. But no, it kept going. And I remember at that moment, the connection of motherhood started where these kids became my kids. To much to the point to where I talk about them. We've gone to different outings and different things on my own accord because I love spending time with these kids. When I say I genuinely love spending time with these kids. And I let them be kids. We have a good time, all the things. The babies taught me motherhood in so many different ways. They taught me motherhood because it let me know that without the rules and the policies, because at the end of the day, according to paperwork, they are still my clients. Aside from that, there was nothing I wouldn't do for them. Their parents recognized the connection and did not interfere. And it was never jealousy, never frustration, never, you know, I he does more for her, and then it was never anything like that. I knew my boundaries because at the end of the day they were clients still. But the boundaries were blurred when, hey, can you come with me? Can you help me? And then I started realizing, oh, we're, sister mothers, so to speak. They taught me how to love where they are. We as adults, we do a poor job of trying to love a child at the level of an adult, or we try to force them to be a level that they can't do. We're wrong. These are children. The Bible calls them precious. And I've been working in this business since I was in middle school. So I understand how precious they are. I've always had patience for children, but then there are times when it's like, okay, you're getting on my nerves now. But I always had patience for children. I always um, would sit with them and talk with them like a little adults. And in doing that, you learn a lot about them. You learn a lot. Loving them was easy. Protecting them was even easier, even if it meant protecting them from their behavior for themselves. When COVID hit, the state required that if these children were, their parents were not essential workers, that they had to stay home. And my first thought was, who are you to play God? Who are you to say that a parent's job is not essential when these parents have to work to pay for their kids? That's essential. The parents have to work to provide. That's essential. Because of the connection that I have with these children, there was nothing I would not do for them. Even to the point to where, I'm invited to their events, invited to their birthdays, invited here, invited there. And it makes me feel good. It makes me feel like a mom. Battling baby fever, battling, heartbreak. And in one particular time, I'll never forget this. The day after my ex and I broke up. Ooh, the day after my ex and I broke up, um, it was a hard day, but I still went to work. And I got to the center. I was in my office all day crying, all the things. And my kids would come in and, hug me and love me. And one in particular, she came and she stood on the side of me and she just patted my head. And I forgot what song was playing. And I remember thinking, oh my God, I am not going to make it with this song. I am not going to make it with this child patting me. And A and P, I mean, yeah, A, actually, it's triple A. Um, they would come and sit with me and sit by me and rub me and pat me. And they're too young to know what's going on, but they're not too young to feel. And when I tell you, and I write this in my book, Life After Heartbreak, Now What? That those children saved my life. Because what people didn't realize at the time was that's when I started thinking about suicide. And the pain was so severe, but those kids stayed right by me. That's when you know you have a bond. The babies didn't just prepare me to be a mother, they prepared me to be a leader. They watched my every move. They hung their decisions on every word that I say. Even now, I was with one of them a couple weeks ago, and we spend time together, and it amazes me. And even though it's natural, it amazes me still how they still want to be with me. They still want to hang around me. They still want to spend time with me. And I'm amazed because they think of me, they remember me, and I've changed their diapers and helped them potty train and helped them recover from different surgeries. Been with them when great grandmothers have passed away, and I've done all the things, but yet and still I'm still valuable to them. I'm still valued to them. And one of them, he would say, "Are you going to forget me when you have a baby?" And I said, "I will never forget. You will always be my first baby." And true enough, he will always be my, if the Lord blesses me with a child, that little boy will always be my first baby. Um, because he was making sure that his place was solidified in my life. Um, So there are times when we forget that, we're educators because we're so involved with our kids, and I'm in tune with them, and their parents fill me in on their behaviors. They, all the different things that lets me know I'm a part of their family. I've been to their house. I've done all sorts of stuff, you know. It's important that we know where we are. It's important that we know who we are as educators. If you're listening and you've ever wiped a tear, tied a shoe, fixed a ponytail, rocked a baby to sleep, you've been practicing motherhood too, even if you don't have children. And I do not have any biological children, but I have fed these children. I have clothed them. I have bathed them. I have wiped them. I have changed them. I have, you know, um, driven with them. I have been to their events. I have been to all sorts of things that have been milestones for them because that's who I am to them as Mama Shaun. Your love is real, your impact is real, and your motherhood counts. And I boldly say, we are in a custody agreement. We are 100% in a custody agreement. I boldly say that. And even with my program now, I have the same philosophy with these parents. It's not just because these are my special kids, but no, my philosophy is the same. We are running this race, we are doing life together and raising these children. I'm not just their educator. I'm their Mama Shaun. I'm your support system. Heck, I'm your Mama Shaun if you need it. And so it's very important that we understand that as educators, and where some people might feel, oh, all they do is this. No, I have proof of the work I've done. I have footprints in the sand of the places I've thread and tread. And I have my children who will boldly defend. We've been to SeaWorld together. We've hung out. We've done all sorts of stuff because I love being in their space. I love being with their families, genuinely, 100%. So the babies taught me motherhood before the world expected me to know how. And I'll forever honor them for that. Even though I'm not a mom, I will always say I am a mom. I just didn't give birth. Um, so motherhood for me is where I am right now. I didn't understand it, looked at it as being kind of weird, but that's where I am. I am a mother. I am a mother to all the children that God has placed in my life and the ones that are choosing to still remain in my life. Okay. So, with that being said, thank you for joining me in this soft and sacred space today. I want you to tag your favorite educator or your favorite mom or someone who plays a mama role and remind them that the babies see their hearts long before the world does. When a baby comes to you and they run to you, they're trusting you for you to catch them, and they're trusting that you're going to love them. How important is that? Oh my God, how important is that? So important. So until next time, stay you and stay true.